Clinton's visit to the Middle East, last one, there is absolutely no difference between her rhetoric on Palestine with that of the Bush administration. So there's an adjustment. And in fact, I want to remind all of you, those who said, but what about the positive changes of language that he used? That is not uncommon. If you look at the American foreign policy of the Middle East, from John F. Kennedy until now, it is quite common that the administration early on makes some statements that would later be backtracking from that are critical of Israel. Remember Kennedy's promises about Palestinian refugees? He spoke about the refugees. I mean, there's a book that came out about that 2 years ago, about John F. Kennedy's Middle Eastern policies. He exchanged rather effusive and emotional letters with Nasser. You talk about Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon in his campaign used the language of even-handed Middle Eastern policy, which is something that the Israel lobby does not like whatsoever. Am I allowed to use the expression Israel lobby on this campus? I'll use it anyway, of course. Fourthly, the violent imposition of the U.S. will in Lebanon, Palestine, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Notice, in all 4 countries, the United States is resorting to armed militias in order to thwart the enemies of the United States. And in Iraq, we have the famous Sahwa Awakening Council. And if you think about it in terms of gender, I mean, we are now arming, financing, and empowering the tribes, the elder tribes of Iraq, the most reactionary, sexist forces in Iraqi societies. These are the ones that were part of British colonial policy in Iraq. And after 1958, Iraq was able to progress and to advance women's rights by undercutting the powers of the tribe, only now to bring them back. To show you how the most reactionary forces in societies have been supported by Western colonial powers in our region. On the subject of Islam, I am one to argue, and I did that elsewhere, that the Bush speech was not different from Obama's speech in Cairo was not different from Bush's speeches. Bush spoke nicely about Islam. He goes to the mosque once a year. He said that we are not enemy of Islam. He said that Islam is a peaceful religion, while at the same time dropping bombs and rockets on the heads of Muslims. So that continued with Obama and with the Bush administration. And basically he also offered Muslims conditional tolerance, that Muslims would be tolerated provided that they do what they're told, that they behave well in the societies where they live, and that the Palestinians will be accepted as human beings provided that they give Israel all the reasons for its occupation to continue and to prosper. And he also expanded American wars in the Middle East. I just read The Economist on the plane, and it talks about a recent military operation by the Obama administration in Somalia. And nobody has been discussing that. The American war in Somalia, this is an Obama war. The Obama war in Somalia is also using false premise, which is that there is a link between the Shabab militia in Somalia with Al-Qaeda. This has not been established. Just as the America is also involved in a war in Yemen. And the war in Yemen does not get any Western support, Western coverage. British newspapers, French newspapers talk about it, but American newspapers have, until I'm told the Washington Post has an article the other day, but I have not read it, so I cannot comment on that one. So in fact, I would say that the Obama doctrine is Bush doctrine continuation with increasing America's military power and war presence in Afghanistan, expanding it elsewhere, hesitancy in Iraq, and it's not very clear what are the declared objectives about to be done in Afghanistan. Certainly they are not about establishing democracy in Afghanistan given what happened over there. Finally, I want to say that if we want to create a critique of the Obama administration, it's very important to take into consideration the promises Obama made in his campaign, and then compare them with the new promises he made as president, and then to compare that and contrast it with the actual record of what's going on in our region in terms of the war, the obvious war, and the covert wars in which the United States is very heavily involved, like the war in Yemen. Thank you for listening. Yeah, I'll take some more.